we've watched these street protests night after night and the continued uprising against systemic racism and police brutality, it's hard not to keep thinking about something that I've seen on a bunch of protest signs in many different cities. Imagine all the many terrible things that have happened that just weren't caught on camera. Particularly when we see disturbing stories like what just happened in Wilmington, North Carolina, which we only know about basically through sheer fluke, because a sergeant conducting an audit stumbled onto a video that had been accidentally recorded by a Wilmington police officer, and the police department, to its credit, told the public what they found. In the video, 3 longtime veteran Wilmington officers who've been on the job since the late 1990s, think about that, decades on the force, are heard saying some truly vile and racist things, with one of them flat out calling for a race war. This is a police officer who's been in there for decades. Quote, "We're just going to go out and start slaughtering them effing N-words. I can't wait. God, I can't wait." The officer adding that a civil war is needed to, quote, and I quote him here, "wipe them off the effing map. That'll put them back about 4 or 5 generations." All 3 officers have now been fired for misconduct. The city's new police chief, Donnie Williams, making the announcement yesterday.
When I first learned of these conversations, I was shocked, saddened, and disgusted. There is no place for this behavior in our agency or our city, and it will not be tolerated.
That was his first day on the job, one of his first actions as a head of police in that town. Now, there are so many ways this is disturbing, they're basically uncountable, but most striking to me is the resonance and meaning of these violent racist words in this particular place, Wilmington, North Carolina. It's a city that is in many ways a perfect representation of the trajectory of racial injustice in America. Because back in the late 1800s, after the Civil War and in Reconstruction, Wilmington was a thriving, fairly well-integrated town racially. That was thanks to the post-Civil War project of Reconstruction, which used the federal government to actively seek to integrate freemen and women as full citizens, to give them rights and more. And then came what was arguably the only pure coup d'etat in U.S. history, when a white supremacist mob violently wrenched power, overthrowing the city government, killing at least 60 African Americans, slaughtering them, wrenching power back with terrorist, white supremacist, fascist violence to regain white supremacy, a key moment in the destruction of this nation's project of racial equality and reconstruction. And the system those racists built, that is a system upon which we now stand. To the point where in the year 2020, Wilmington police officers are fantasizing about a race war where they could shoot black people that would put black Americans back about 4 or 5 generations, back to what happened in that same city. And in the decades following the 1898 coup, the racists who seized power, well, they took a kind of victory lap. They erected statues, Confederate statues, to celebrate their victory, to send the message to the people they had killed and slaughtered and beaten out of power that they were in control. But last night, 2 of those statues came down on the order of city officials. We are now in a moment we are seeing things brought to light that were buried before. At least some of us are seeing things that were brought to light buried before. Many Americans have been seeing it the whole time. And in the city of Tucson, there's another new recording that will make your blood run cold. That's next.